Recorded.
All right, guys, I'd like to welcome everybody to the June 8th, 2023 Commission meeting.
You guys ready?
We good? Okay, all times on this agenda are approximate consideration of items may require more or less time than is scheduled. Items on the agenda may be taken out of order. The public body may combine two or more agenda items for consideration, and the public body may remove an item from the agenda or delay discussion relating to an item on the agenda at any time. Public comment is designated for discussion only. The public has the opportunity to address the commission on any matter not appearing on the agenda. However, no action may be taken on any matter raised until the matter itself has been specifically included on the agenda as an item upon which action may be taken. Additionally, public comment may be heard on any item listed on the agenda. Persons are invited to submit comments in writing and or attend and make comments on any agenda item at the Lander County Commissioners Board meeting. All public comment may be limited to 3 minutes per person at the discretion of the commission. Please note that the public body may interrupt the open meeting and exclude the public for the purpose of having an attorney-client discussion of potential and existing litigation, which is pursuant to NRS 241.015 3B2. So I'll call this meeting to order. Patsy, would you lead us in the pledge?
Thank you. Please join me in the salute to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll have a moment of silence. Lander County Commission may break for lunch from 12 p.m. to 1:15 p.m. Any agenda item may be taken out of order, may be combined for consideration by the public body, and items may be pulled or removed from the agenda at any time. We'll move into Commissioners' reports on meetings, conferences, and seminars attended. Patsy?
No report. Thank you.
JR?
Nothing
Mike?
reported.
Okay. Okay. We'll move into staff reports on meetings, conferences, and seminars attended.
Good morning, Commission. First, I would like to send our condolences to the Priest family. There will be a vigil tonight at 6 o'clock in the Sheriff's Office parking lot, I believe. And on the next agenda, there will be an item there for the county to donate a plot to the Priest family. So I've already asked the treasurer to approve that, and if the commission doesn't approve it, it'll be paid for. So no worries on either end, but I just wanted to make you guys aware of that. And then mosquito spraying and larvicide. There will be another larvicide spraying from the plane early this next week. And then we're also fogging Austin and Kingston. We did once, and we're going to be hitting it again. They have the fogger down in Austin right now, and so they'll be hitting it this week before the weekend. And we'll be doing the same here in Battle Mountain with the fogging. The Indian Colony, they did approve it at their last council meeting for us to fog through the colony here in town, so we aren't missing that spot. And if there's any issues with that, please let me know. But I figured since we're driving around fogging everything around it, we could just make a pass through there, and the tribal council did approve us to go there and take care of that. If the commission's okay with that. That takes about 5 minutes, so it's not a huge expenditure of time to hit that. And then the governor did call a special session on the 6th. That'll last 120 days, and that special session is for the capital improvements in the Assembly Bill 521, which is some of his requests that weren't met in the previous bids. So the last thing is we'd like to maybe put an item on this next agenda to move the last July meeting because our council won't be able to make it. We have some staffing things there, so maybe we can put that on the next agenda, and that probably be more for the end of this meeting, but I wanted just to make sure I said it so we didn't forget about it. Hopefully we can address that at the end of the meeting, so that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. We'll move into public comment for non-agenda items only. Is there public comment?
I would like to speak. So, off of the mosquito spraying piece, I had attempted to send, I was absent at the last meeting, but I had sent Bert a text I asked to be read on I didn't send a text that I asked to be put on the record. And it was a thank you to Bert for his efforts. There was a a rumor out there in the community that we had defunded that ability to, we cut that from the budget, was one of them, and then the rest of it that comes with it. But I wanted on the record the facts of the steps that Bert took. The fact is that we lost, and Bert, you can help me out here if I miss anything, because I can't find, I must have deleted it, but the company that we used closed up shop. So besides us, other counties didn't have the ability to, there wasn't a company spraying. Bert put in a lot of effort and located a brand new company that had just got licensed. And I think we were the first county that they sprayed under their new business contract. So off of that, like I said, I stated several times a thank you to Bert for the extra effort and going above and beyond to provide the services that for the people and their bloodlines in this county, because the mosquitoes are bad. But definitely, I missed some of the stuff I typed, but I want it on the record and so people can see it. It wasn't defunded. There was no discussion of it to be defunded. It simply was a loss of a service provider. We've locked that contract in, and thank you for your efforts, Bert. It's greatly appreciated.
Well, thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. And just so the community's aware, so it was Frey out of Fallon who sprayed for Humboldt, Elko, Lander, the northern half of the state. There are a lot of aerial sprayers, but nobody that sprays pesticide. It's a special licensing that has some other requirements that go through it. And for those who don't know, I found this out last week, but JJ Gogachia is the new head of the Department of Agriculture. And I had reached out to them and said, hey, do you guys have anybody? Because we're looking. And that's where everybody has to put their application in to get licensed to spray, so they should know of anybody that's there. And JJ actually called me and thanked me because they didn't have anybody either when we located the people that we did. So it was good for the Department of Ag, and it was good for us, and it was a lot of hustle on my part and Sean and Donnie's, and it's a group effort. So we definitely don't want the community ate up by mosquitoes, and we're trying our best. So the first pesticide that will be sprayed, we're still a couple weeks away, but it's coming, and that's the one that has to have all the notices in the paper and the thing, bring the dog's water in, do all of that. Right now we're just spraying the live bacteria that actually gets in the water and attaches to the larva and kills it. And then we're fogging, which kills the adults. So between the two, the fog is barbecue safe, so the people could be outside barbecuing with their pets and other things. It's more of a oil base that connects to their wings, and they're less dangerous when they're walking around on the ground. So that's just what that is. So thank you, Mike. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Is there any more public comment?
I'll make a comment. Bert, through the county, got a new spreader for the crickets and letting me use it. And I really want to thank him for doing that, because my old one was getting pretty wore out. But thanks, Bert.
Okay. Any more public comment?
I do have one more thing to add to that with the crickets. I don't know if anybody's seen Elko County and what's going on with their hospital, but I am thankful for JR and the others in the community that are helping keep the crickets from overrunning our community like they are some of the surrounding communities. It's a pretty big deal. We don't have that issue in town, so thank you guys.
The hospital in Elko's paying kids $10.50 an hour to herd crickets away and keep them shoveled off the sidewalk so people can get in.
They're using scoop shovels to
Yeah.
scoop them off the
They
sidewalk.
are.
All right, any more public comment? All right, we'll move into our consent agenda. All matters listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and may be acted upon by the Board of County Commissioners with one action, without extensive discussion. Any member of the board or any citizen may request that an item be taken from the consent agenda, discussed and acted upon separately during this meeting. Consent agenda materials are available at the Lander County Clerk's office for viewing, and copies are available for a nominal charge. 1, approval of June 8th, 2023 agenda notice. 2, approval of April 27th, 2023 meeting minutes. 3, approval of May 10th, 2023 special agenda meeting minutes. 4, approval of May 25th, 2023 meeting minutes. And 5, approval of payroll change requests.
Do we have any changes on the agenda? No. I will make a motion that we approve number 1, the agenda notice, and number 5, the payroll change request. I did not receive any meeting minutes.
Okay, we have a
I'll
motion
second it.
and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. We'll move into item 1, for discussion of possible actions to approve, disapprove payment of bills. We need to pull check number 219793 and 219875.
I'll make a motion, we approve the balance of the bills minus the 2 checks that were just mentioned.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay,
And I'll make a motion that we, accept the check number 219793 and 219875.
Second.
okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, and I abstain, they're made to my employer. We'll move into item 2, for discussion of possible action to approve, disapprove the reappointment of one individual to serve on the Lander County Planning Commission, which he currently sits, and term expires on June 30th, 2023. New terms are from July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2027. This will leave one remaining opening, and the applicant is Steve Steinmetz.
I motion we approve candidate Steve Steinmetz to reappointment on the Lander County Planning Commission.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Item 3, for discussion of possible action to approve, disapprove the reappointment of one individual to serve on the Lander County Convention and Tourism Board, which he currently sits, and term expires June 30th, 2023. New terms are from July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2025, and the individual is Richard Ripley.
A motion we reappoint candidate Richard Ripley to the Lander County Convention and Tourism Board through June 30th, 2025.
Don't we
I'll
need
second.
to put down what he's serving, the hotel?
You need to-
What position he's going to serve in?
I don't have that listed.
It's just on his letter, so he would,
I mean, he serves on the hotel, and we need him on the hotel.
right.
Can he, because he can serve in, several. We
Does that-
have
does that
one
need-
for motel, we have at large, so we do need, so just specify in the
Oh, so-
motion that he will represent the hotel.
So hotel, motel, businesses, or at-large positions,
No, just the hotel,
the hotel.
right.
So I need to restate it?
Well,
Exactly. Motion?
Motion that he represents the hotels.
Okay. I motion to reappoint Richard Ripley to the Lander County Convention and Tourism Board representing the motels, hotels.
yes, and I will second that, thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Item 4, for discussion of possible action to approve, disapprove the renewal proposal from Nevada Public Agency Insurance Pool and approval for payment out of fiscal year 2023-2024 funds. There are options available as follows. A, total $615,494.76. That's with a $5,000 deductible. B, total $588,283.54. That would be with a $10,000 deductible. And C, total $533,445.89, and that would be with a $25,000 deductible. Morning, Alan.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, Alan Kalt, I am the Chief Financial Officer for Pool Pact, and have a PowerPoint presentation that will go over the program. I assume it's going to hit the screen. I'll go ahead and start. First of all, I want to thank you. You guys own the pool. You know, the pool is owned by the members. It's a member services consortium made up of counties, cities, school districts, hospitals, and general improvement districts. And the members are the center of everything that we do. IT is getting it taken.
Not
Thank you, Robert.
Got some cool graphics, pictures off your website. You might recognize them. Gotta make sure they pull up on the screen. So. thank you so much. Appreciate that. So again, thank you for being a good member of Pool Pact. And we really appreciate the staff involvement. Your county manager, your law enforcement, your HR, the DA's office, your IT folks have been involved in our program. And as this shows, it's your program. It's owned by our members. We work for you. You serve as board trustees. We have our workers' comp program. We have our property and casualty program. We run an HR program to assist our members. And we have the NRP as the management staff that oversees the operation of the entire program. So right here is the program structure that was approved at the annual meeting. And the one major change that took place is that our cyber limits. Cyber limits went from $3 million down to $1 million per occurrence with an annual aggregate of $15 million. The cyber market's been very difficult. And in this year's renewal application, there were some questions on there dealing with cyber. And we've made a focus working with our IT folks and IT folks at the various entities is to make sure that we improve our cyber, whether it be through multi-factor authentication, KnowBe4 programs, those type of things, because what we don't want to do is have cyber attacks on our member entities. We have to address those issues. The overall budget of Pool Pact as adopted by the board has 76% of the money coming in. We're a nonprofit, again, owned by the members. 76% of it goes to pay for insurance claims, insurance coverage, and the loss fund contribution. Member services at $2 million is the next largest at 8%, and then agent commissions at 1.6 million or 6.1. We believe in the dividends back to the members are service dividends back to you in some of the programs that we offer. On the right-hand side, you can see the member-owned, member-governed, the different members that serve on the executive committees of Pool and Pact. We also have other committees, the Loss Control Committee, the Human Resource Committee, and we have an NDOG, the Detention Working Group, the Nevada Detention Administrators Working Group that many of our members participate in. So about the renewal program. We were able to maintain the property coverage and the capacity we did. As I mentioned earlier, there was a slight reduction in the cyber coverage in the limits, but a $1 million and a $15 million aggregate. Our property rate increase was lower than what the standard marketplace was. The marketplace is seeing 30 to 50% increases in property coverage. The pool overall increase was only 14%, so we felt very comfortable and confident that the marketplace recognized the excellence of our members and things that are going on within the membership. And one of the stories that we've touted to them is flood mitigation. What entities are doing to mitigate flood, and then also fire mitigation. Because sometimes they want to lump Nevada into the California fires and that type of thing. And wildland fires are significantly different than property structure fires. So the market, we share our story. Our story's been heard, and our rate of increase wasn't as high as what the other places in the market were experiencing. Although we were affected by adverse loss development, social inflation, law enforcement, and climate change issues. We're seeing law enforcement on a nationwide basis, claims against law enforcement, and we've invested a lot of time, energy, and effort to support the fire departments and the law enforcement agencies and the first responders in the state of Nevada, and I'll talk about some of that. Providing those quality member services is our service dividend back to the shareholders, back to you, back to your residents to help you serve better. The pool overall increase was 14%. Lander County was 18%. And one of the big difference there is your total insured values went up 10%. So that insured value, if you were to add that 10% to the 14, one would anticipate that your increases would have been 24%. But because of the hard work of staff and the way the actuary computes the formulas, your actual increase was less than 24% at 18.2. You had slight increases in payroll and in the amount of autos. One of the things we like to talk about is, in law enforcement, they say, we got your six, we got your back. We have 6 levels of service that we think are very important that we provide to our membership. human resources, they provide model policies, they assist from everything from hiring to firing. You have a business consultant that is assigned to you. They work with your management team to develop a business work plan to figure out what resources you need to have during this upcoming year and how they can assist your organization. We have an e-learning platform, Absorb and Target Solutions, and your employees completed over 364 courses in this past year of e-learning. They're able to take those classes 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, most of those courses 20 to 30 minute sessions, and they're able to fit those in when they're available. And that's an opportunity for advanced training for your employees. We also do on-site training is available, and I'm going to be out in Elko next week doing local government finance, and I was down in Caliente last week into the local government finance, fraud prevention, and awareness. So not only do we do on-site regional training, we have stuff available on the e-learning platform. And if you go to poolpack.com, they're able to see the listing of those type of classes. Cybersecurity, we do quarterly updates with Tony Rucci. They've had a passive network assessment done, for Lander County, and specifically is one done with the Sheriff's Office. And we're able to make some enhancements on there. We had that Know Before phishing campaign, and one of the things that I noticed in Lander County is your click rate was a little bit higher than the average. And what that means is they'll send a spoofed email to the employees. And if the employees click on that, a phishing attempt, then what happens is they end up having to get sent to training, okay? And, we even get tested in our organization. We're part of the Know Before program as well. And they ran a campaign at our office, and what they did is they had a QR code, Food Truck Friday. And if you were to use your cell phone and log on, and a couple of us, guys that love food trucks, I did not click because I just I'm not as tech savvy as some of the younger folks. And, one of our employees clicked on it and obviously went to training. It was, you need to be careful. And that's the whole intent there is that sometimes, especially as AI is developing, the phishing schemes are getting more and more complex and more real. So we try and teach employees not to do that, and that's a valuable program that we have. During our quarterly IT update, a representative from Know Before is going to talk about the program and some enhancements and additional training. That training is going to take place next week. On the law enforcement side, Lander County's been just a phenomenal member. We appreciate the active involvement. We did a jail assessment. We've done a jail assessment on all our county members over the last 3 years to make sure that jail operations are following national standards and doing a great job. We have the Nevada Detention Administrators Working Group, NDOG, and that's a group of the jail folks working together, collaborating to make sure that they're following best practices. And if Lander County is doing something that's tremendously awesome here, they're going to share it with Humboldt County. They're going to share that with Elko, and that's part of the power of the pool, members helping members. The other thing that we have going on is we've expanded mental health awareness and peer support network within the law enforcement first responder community. It's becoming a bigger issue. It's a challenging job as it is, and some of the things that they end up seeing in their career, they need some support. And the peer support network is ran by a retired police officer, and there's a retired firefighter that's also involved. We're working with Specialty Health and Nevada Peer Support Network. There's an 800, there's a local number that you can call, the members can call, if they need assistance dealing with those things. So those are some of the services that we have available within Pool Pack that you folks are taking advantage of, and we appreciate that. And we'd be happy to answer any questions that you have on any of our programs or services. And we thank you for your membership and the input that your staff has provided. They've been involved. They've went to the board orientation, the annual meetings, and Bert and crew have been, and the Sheriff's Office have been very active, involved in Pool Pact, and we greatly appreciate that, and it enhances the program.
Thank you, Alan. I do have a question. You stated that the Sheriff's Department or law enforcement, first responders has seen an increase in claims. What type of claims are we seeing an increase of?
So we're seeing some, on the national level, we're
Right.
seeing, the issue. I mean, obviously the defund police campaign, that type of thing. you know, the good part is in Nevada, we've not seen that, you know, especially in rural Nevada, you know, God bless the law enforcement, and there's a huge support for, you know, our police and fire. Some of the cases that we've had, we had a settlement on a case, a use of force, where an officer had to use force, ultimately killed the suspect, and upon review and stuff, it was ultimately determined that we better settle that, so we did. You know, and that settlement was over $1 million. You know, we do monthly roll call training, and Lander County, you're Mr. Quick, all right? Yeah, he attends many of those, and those that are not attended are recorded and available on website, so that the model policies are out there. Steve Campbell doing the trainings, making sure whether it's a pursuit or, you know, different elements, that training is taking place. So we're seeing it at a national level, some of the things, and that affects the marketplace where we buy the insurance. But, you know, we're, knock on wood, Nevada's been doing a great job in law enforcement.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Alan, I do. Are there, with the $5,000 deductible, that's what we currently have,
Yes, ma'am.
right? And is that for every type of claim that we have?
Yes, you know, that would be for every type of claim, unless there is one change that was made, that if you had an unintentional, where something wasn't added to the schedule, let's say you added a new building, the building was constructed, and for whatever reason it didn't hit, and if there was a loss on that, the deductible would be 10% of that thing that was not scheduled, plus your regular deductible. But generally speaking, you know, in your scenario, it's a $5,000 deductible. Whether it's a $50,000 claim or a $5 million claim, you're going to be paying $5,000.
Okay, so do you have offhand the number of deductibles that we had last year?
You know what? I do not have that on the top of my head. The difference. Here we go. Someone's going to answer that.
Lakin Sullivan for the record. So I went back 3 years. I did reach out to Barbie from Davies Claim, who handles our claims, but she hadn't got back to me. So just rough numbers, we paid about $40,000 in the last 3 years in claims. Not all of those claims hit our $5,000. Most of them were under; they were lower than $5,000. So we just paid whatever it cost to do the claim. We do have 2 that we've paid for sure that were over the $5,000. And then we have some outstanding that we haven't got a bill for that will probably be over.
Okay, so we actually only had 2 claims so far. We don't know what all's incurred, but 2 claims that were over the $5,000 limit.
That we've paid. We have a total of 5, including the ones we haven't got a bill for because the claims aren't finished.
Okay, because what we're comparing is, if we went to the 10,000, we're gonna save $27,000.
Mm-hmm.
But that's 5 claims.
Yeah, I'm tracking with you. That's what was like a spreadsheet of, if we paid, it's like, what is over the last 3 years our deductible versus what our claims, would we save money by going to a higher deductible and pay that less premium?
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, so
Is that where you're going, Patsy?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
in the last 3 years, there would be probably 5 that we went over that $5,000 deductible.
But you're saying total in the last 3 years? Because we're doing year by year.
Yes, but we don't always have claims. Sometimes we have 1 claim a year. This year it's been busier.
Okay.
So that's why I went over a span of
No,
3
I
years.
appreciate the 3, but I'm saying, I'm trying to get a handle on, if we only had 1 claim 1 year, 3 claims 1 year, whatever, we'd have to do 5 more to make up the difference. Actually, I have 6 claims for us to keep the 5,000 instead of going with the 10,000. Because we're saving $27,000 in premium by going to a 10,000. And is that worth our while to do?
Yeah, I would keep in mind that we do have some, I guess, bigger ones right now with the Austin Youth Center building. That's not finished, and we don't have any clue on what that's going to cost or if we're going to have any costs in that.
Okay.
So just kind of keep that in mind. And I guess maybe
Vehicle
Alan,
insurance.
can you answer if we have the claim started already? Would we still pay the 5,000 for the claim we have started?
Right, if so, you're gonna have the deductible in the year in which the claim occurred. So if that was a current year claim with a $5,000 deductible, even though it may take 2-3 years for that
It's when
claim
it
to finally
occurs,
settle out,
yeah.
it would be a $5,000 deductible.
Oh, okay. So then we wouldn't have to worry about the ones we've started.
One of the things, prior to coming to Pool Pact, I was the chief financial officer for Churchill County in Fallon. And what we end up, we did this analysis that Lakin is doing, and what we ended up doing is creating a risk management fund, and we took that savings and we moved our deductible. We went from 5,000, then we went to 25, and then we ended up at 50,000. And we take that savings, that differential, in this example, what you're talking about is $27,000. We put that in that risk management fund so that if the claims happen, okay, the break-even point at 5.5 claims, assuming that, if you have a claim, it's either gonna be 5 or 10 grand, right? I mean, it's gonna most likely be the 10. Keep that money at the county level, pay that deductible, okay? And then over time, because what it ends up doing is ultimately lowers your overall program cost. But you need to have that money set aside so that when, you're banking on those savings. And my argument that I made to my Board of County Commissioners was, hey, I believe in my employees in Churchill County. I believe in, the risk management programs that we're doing. We were taking advantage of Pool Pact programs, okay? We could take a larger deductible, take that savings, but we need to have the money because if we have a claim, and we, have to pay it, we have to pay $50,000. And we built up a fund, and I always made sure that we had 8 times the number, so in that case, we had 400,000, at least 400,000 in our risk management fund, so that if bad stuff happened in any one year, let's say we had bam, 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 eight times we had to pay that $50,000 deductible, we had that money available. And that was at the, at the county level, and we had to write bigger checks versus the $5,000 check, we're writing a $50,000 check on those large claims. But we were able to save that money over time. And my belief is, and I quit tracking it because I no longer work for Churchill. I ought to go back and see how we're doing. But it was a wise move for the county that to have, because we don't have frequency of claims. We did at Churchill, and I don't believe that Lander County has had frequency of claims. But when it does happen, if you move to that higher deductible, if you go from 5 to 10, you got to have the ability to write that $10,000 check when the maintenance deductible bill
Well,
comes.
that's the whole key, and we do, if we don't have the frequency of claims, that's,
Right.
and of course that could hit, but that's all part of what you do. But, I do believe in the self-insurance, which is creating a risk management pool, basically, and I think we can afford to do that.
I like the higher deductible. I like $25,000 deductible, and save that money and you do exactly what you're saying, put what we save aside.
And I'd be more than happy to work with Bert and Lakin on developing the resolution to bring forward to create a risk management fund, on how to do that. You set that money aside and, it's there. And you build up that fund over time, but budget-wise, you would still want to quote budget $615,000, let's say hypothetically, and, you'd only pay pool $533,000, but you'd have to make sure you pay the rest into that risk management fund, because, and over time, that fund will build up. But if you have bad luck, and what tends to happen with entities is you'll go a good period of time with not very many claims, and then bad stuff happens, you get some bad claims, and then you're back to good. It kind of ebbs and flows, and that's being absorbed, within the pool. It does the same thing. So going with a higher deductible would save you money, but you need to put that money aside just for when you have those, because you're going to end up paying the higher deductible.
Do we need to pay the premium annually, or is that our choice, or do you?
Yeah, so what happens is on the pool side is that the premiums are paid in the month of July. On the workers' comp, there's 4 quarterly payments, but you would pay, just like you do your homeowner's insurance, you pay all at once for 1 year's worth of coverage at the renewal period. The renewal period for pool is July 1 to June 30th.
What did we budget this year? We budgeted the $615.
No,
That's
that
what
number is over budget because we don't get these numbers until after we've already
So
done
what did
budget.
we, what was
I
that?
think it was 600,000, but I'm not
Okay.
100% sure.
Close enough, we can always amend if we did that.
Just for the commission, that, I think that we save just over 82,000 by going to the option C, which is the $25,000 deductible. And we would have to have 16 claims to match that deductible at the $5,000 deductible. We'd have to have 8 claims at the $10,000 deductible to match that. So with us only having 3 that are over the 5,000 in the past 3 years, I think that it may be wise to do exactly what Alan's doing, come back with a resolution and
You guys, any questions? Okay, I'll hear a motion.
Okay, I will make a motion that on our renewal proposal from Nevada Public Agency Insurance Pool, the pool, that for the fiscal year 2023, 2024, we choose a $25,000 deductible for $533,445.89.
I second it.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, great, thank you, Alan.
Good, thank you guys.
We'll move into item 5, for discussion of possible action to approve, disapprove the preventive maintenance and support agreement with Justice AV Solutions Jobs in an amount not to exceed $5,858.50. The new term runs from July 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2023.
Thanks. Lake and Sullivan for the record. So I reached out to Jobs to see if we could go to a 6-month contract since we are in the process of speaking with the company that Elko County uses for their commission meetings, and they agreed to do a 6-month.
Okay, great. So that's to handle our stuff here because we're using stuff that's more for courts than. Okay, those are a motion, or any questions?
I motion to approve the support agreement with Justice AV Solutions, JAVS, in the amount not to exceed $5,858 for the term from January 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2023.
I'll second it.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. We'll move into item 6, for discussion of possible action to approve, disapprove resolution 2023-09, a resolution to augment the fiscal year 2022-2023 budget of Lander County.
This is a augmentation for the tech fund. The expenditures overall for the fund are over about $10,000 than what was budgeted. That's due to some servers and things like that that Lyra had bought, that because Oasis has been updating all of our IT stuff, and so it just put her over what she had budgeted, so we have to do an augmentation.
Okay, thank you. Any questions?
I will make a motion, we approve resolution number 2023-09 for the Board of Lander County Commissioners, a resolution to augment the fiscal year 2022-2023 budget of Lander County. Whereas total resources of the Technology Fund, Lander County, were budgeted to be $812,574 on July 1st, 2022, and whereas the total available resources are now determined to be $882,574, whereas said additional unanticipated resources are as follows: the interest revenue $70,000, whereas there is a need to apply these funds proceeds in the Technology Fund. Now therefore it is hereby resolved that Lander County shall augment its 2022-2023 budget by appropriating $70,000 for us in the Technology Fund, thereby increasing its appropriations from $1,252,500 to $1,322,500. A detailed schedule is attached to this resolution, and by reference is made a part thereof. It is further resolved that the fiscal officer shall forward the necessary document to the Department of Taxation, State of Nevada, passed and adopted this 8th day of June, 2023.
Thank you. We have a motion, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, motion and second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. We'll move to item 7, update from Sheldon Mudd with the NNRDA, Northern Nevada Regional Development Authority relating to projects in Lander County. Morning, Sheldon.
Good morning, I'll do that.
Good morning.
Right. I brought pictures as well. All right, Mr. Chair, Commission, Sheldon Mudd for the record, gonna get, oh, okay.
Just lower it. So exit out of that. This one on this one is just.
Get that.
Yeah. Okay, what's that?
Oh, it was going, okay, sorry about that, we got her now, I think.
Yep.
All right, we're cooking. Okay, so once again, Sheldon Mudd for the record. I appreciate you guys putting me on the agenda to kind of visit a little bit with what we've got going on in and around Lander County. I would like to just mention when we, one of the last presentations I did for LEDA was kind of a basic overview of what we do, and I thought to myself, before I came here, is I don't think I've ever done that with this board. So I thought maybe we'd go over that really quick, then I'll talk about briefly what we've got going in Lander County, and then of course if you have any questions we'll go from there if that works. So first and foremost, just to let the board know what our mission is, which is to encourage and coordinate the continual diversified development and economic growth of northeastern Nevada and all of its entities. Essentially just trying to make this place a little better place to live. So better quality life overall. That's just a fancy way to say it. So when it comes to economic development in our organization, I see Mr. Nelson left, but I had a meeting with him in his office about a month ago, and he had asked this question, really, what do you guys do? And a lot of people ask that question. It's a good question. So this gives you kind of an idea. Within NRDA, we really have 3 pillars that we work around. One's workforce development, community development, and business development. So talking about workforce development, one of the key factors when a company's looking at our region is they want to know if there's workers. Are there people, is there a pool they can draw from in order to sustain their business? So we play in this space. So oftentimes we give companies, existing or prospective companies, demand evaluations. What does the industry need at the moment? What does it look like we're going to need in 10 years? And so on and so forth. And then as a result, where we're invited, we have those conversations with K through 12 entities. Now fortunately here in Battle Mountain, I was asked to be on the FFA advisory board, and so that's been kind of nice, so we can have those conversations and intertwine what's going on with industry into, hopefully into some of their programs within the school. We tend to work more in higher education in order to come up with various programs that might be needed in order to educate the workforce of tomorrow. Right now we are heavily involved with the Mining Center of Excellence, which I'm not sure if you've heard about that yet or not, but it's a joint venture between UNR, Mackey School of Mines, and Great Basin College, and the goal there is to have a location for workforce training, but also some research and development. Really boots on the ground out here where the mining actually takes place, as opposed to in the Reno area. And then of course we also work with nonprofit organizations like Nevada Works, Job Connect, etc., in order to have these conversations and try to build a workforce. Now part of this that we don't have here, I haven't put in here, is actual recruitment. And we haven't done any major recruitment campaigns, which I think we would be very successful recruiting out of southern Idaho and northern Utah, simply because of the starting wages that we experience and notice here in northeastern Nevada. However, housing is an issue in getting those people here. I'll talk about that briefly. Next is community development. So we help manage and sustain the comprehensive economic development strategies that are required by the EDA, the Economic Development Administration, which we do here for Lander County. Hopefully in the future, communities who decide to work on that at a local level will take that over and we'll focus just on the regional one. Either way, the whole region is covered by that document when seeking out grants and so forth. We're approved as an economic development district, and we're still working through that, and the point of that is to secure federal dollars in order to move forward with infrastructure projects and so forth, and I can talk about that a little bit more. We're hoping that we'll be funded here in July in order to do that. And then of course with community development is infrastructure development support. So by and large, our role here is simply to say, here's what business and industry is asking for. This is what could make you competitive. This is what could make your community more desirable. An example here is when we suggested a rail park or a rail access point here in Lander County, which fortunately the current staff and so forth have really ran with. And so we're glad to see that, because that's going to create a lot more opportunity, I believe. I'll talk about that a little bit more as we press on. Also things like the outdoor workout gym, you know, I mean, we found this grant and said, hey, this might be something Lander County might want to access and run with. And many others like it. So anytime we see that opportunity, we'll certainly bring it up to Lander County and all of our regional communities. And then of course housing. We did a huge campaign back in March and April reaching out to housing, home and industrial builders around the Intermountain West to try to get them to this area in order to do some housing development, some industrial development. And we got a couple hits off of that, quite frankly. And so we are talking with those people about starting some projects in some different areas. Right now, Lander's not one of those areas, but we're hoping that it will trickle. Now, if you'll notice these two pillars I have in yellow, and there's a reason for that, because this is where NNRDA really takes what I would say a passive role. We don't have the resources and tools to put in a natural gas line. We don't have the resources and tools to build a house and so on and so forth. So, you know, we can only suggest certain things, either to our communities, to schools, to, you know, our utility companies, etc. So that is 9 times out of 10, that's the best we can do, is bring data and information in regards to that, and it's up to them to decide, do they want to put forth the capital, do they want to put forth the effort, and so on and so forth. That's where there is a difference between actual business development, this last pillar, which is what people think of when they think of our organization. Now, one thing that business development is not is a lot of times the first thing people come to us with is, when are you going to get a Costco here, and when is there going to be an Applebee's and an Olive Garden, and so on and so forth. Those are actually byproducts of what we do. We have a term that says retail follows rooftops. So I will say with that, I have talked to all those entities. I've talked to In-N-Out about having an In-N-Out right here next to Nampa, right? And which I think most people, I'd probably be the hero of Battle Mountain at that point. But they take a look at the traffic, they take a look at the population. Most of these people have an equation. I can tell you for Costco, what they told me is we need 250,000 people within a 1-hour drive. Well, our whole region, our 4-county region, is about 80,000 people. So we have a lot of growth before we get our own Costco. So that's just to let you know. So in order to get those things, though, population has to grow, and that's where we come in, because industry has to expand, it has to diversify, you have to have more people, you have to bring jobs into the area, and that's where we're at. So our first priority is existing business. The business we have here, we want to keep here. And so what we do is we engage policymakers, we offer data and information to those folks when they come to our office and they need loans and so on and so forth. we direct them in the right place. We want our existing business to stay right where they're at. We don't want them going anywhere else. And that is particularly true with small business. We never played in the small business space much until COVID, and then that changed. And so we started offering small business development training and so forth, and then we also embedded the Rural Nevada Development Corporation into our office, so we do have a person in our office that can offer loans and so on and so forth. And so we really started to focus on our small businesses, because my philosophy is nobody's coming to save us. We can't expect other people necessarily from the outside to come and fix whatever we want to fix. We really have to do it ourselves. And so we have to build an entrepreneurial spirit in northeastern Nevada so that we're willing to find the gaps and then as individuals take the risk and make these things happen. And I tell people this all the time, is when they're griping and moaning because we need a Taco Bell in Battle Mountain, go franchise it. You do it. If you think that's what we need, do it. Put your money where your mouth is and make it happen. And that's with anything. And then, of course, the big thing is the prospective businesses, the big businesses and the outside businesses. We're going to talk about that quite a bit. But most of our marketing budget goes to that. Reaching out to those companies who are looking to expand or looking for somewhere else to go. And we try to court them, and we try to encourage them to come to this area. And I can tell you, I mean, I live here, I like Battle Mountain, there's a reason I live here. But we are competing with places like Tucson, Arizona, Ogden, Utah, Twin Falls, Idaho. There's a lot of assets in those places. Healthcare opportunities, education, a variety of education opportunities, commerce. The CEO's wife's always asked, do you have a Dillard's nearby? Well, you have to drive 3.5 hours, but it's just down the road for folks in Nevada. So what we have to do is really leverage the assets we have to affect their bottom line, where it is worth taking a chance in these areas, and sometimes people do. And then, of course, we act on behalf of the company and the county or the city when we go to the state if they are looking for state tax abatements and so on and so forth. So these are really the three pillars, but the business development is where we really do have an active role in trying to make things happen. So over the years, just so you know, I joined NNRDA in late 2017, November 2017. And when I do these numbers, these lead numbers, these are serious. This is not just somebody calling saying, hey, what's out there? These are people that are actively looking for a new location for expansion or complete relocation. And as you can see, over the years, our numbers essentially have went up about 700%. So between 2016 and 2017, they had 5 leads, really solid leads come in. And then, of course, here in the last few years, that's went up drastically. This year so far, we've had 10 really good ones come in, 12. 3 of those we did have to turn away because we absolutely had no building space for them. They wanted an existing turnkey building, and we get that a lot. So the point to this slide is that our efforts, our marketing efforts through our website and our cold calls and the other utilities we use, we subscribe to site selector repositories where we have access. They kind of combine all these companies around the country and around the world that are looking for a new place to go. We pay good money to have access to those lists, and so we're constantly reaching out to these folks. When they get a hold of us and say, give me more information, that's when they go on this list here. So you can see where our efforts have produced some results. So on average, just give you an idea what people are asking for. On average, when a company comes to ask us about property and so on and so forth, they're looking at approximately, or on average, a $294 million capital expenditure. So these are pretty big projects, and usually most of them are not this big. It's just we get the ones that are in the billions from time to time, and quite frankly, most of the time they're not very realistic. Well, like for example, last week or the week before, a battery manufacturing plant. Well, we get those and they ask us for information, but there's just no way we could support something like that. 2,000 employees, $2 billion project. But we include them in the data and the information. On average, they're looking for, as you can see, 350 employees. They're looking for at least 94 acres. This is where we do excel here in Lander County and across the region. We have the property that's all together. And that's where a lot of these guys, that's where places like Tucson and Twin Falls, they just don't have that anymore. So that is one of the good aspects that we have. And by and large, they're requesting huge buildings, and they want them built and ready to go. And as you can see here, 345,000 square feet. I don't even think we have a building that big in the whole region. The closest thing we have is White Pine County's 300,000 square foot greenhouse. And and I think the next is Komatsu's building over there now, which I think is around 150. So these guys are looking for big space, and they want it now. They already want it. So those are always very, very big challenges. But as you can see, we've facilitated some investment in the area. So in almost a 10-year span between 08 and 17, you can see the numbers there. NNRDA facilitated roughly $71 million in capital expenditures that equated to about a little over $20 an hour wages, and added 264 full-time employees. And then, of course, in the last 5 years, we've been able to triple those numbers, double the wages, and so forth. And then these are the things that we've facilitated as an organization. None of this has been in Lander County. So this gives you an example of some of the information we get. I know that's probably a little hard to read. I apologize for that. But this is from a third-party site selector. It says, we have a company, they're looking for an area. We crossed all of the boxes except for the ready-made building. We just didn't have a ready-made building. Now, what we did try to do is say, hey, we know some developers, we know some builders that can build this for you. They can do it right away, but they didn't want to wait a year to have a building built. So as a result, this company went to Garland, Texas. And so we usually don't get that feedback where they land, but oftentimes we do. And I can tell you, by and large, they're landing in places that are anywhere from 80 to 100,000 people. So that's what we're up against. That's what we're competing against. So I gave you the little pamphlet. So this is one thing that we send along with, when we do an RFI response, this is what they're getting. But when we do it specifically for Lander County, so here you can see the numbers of how many leads that we've responded to over the years. We're up to 7 this year. This does not count when we're reaching out cold. And so what happens is we get word that there are companies out there looking for new places to go. And when we get those, we gather them up and we'll send them an information. Hey, we know you probably aren't considering this, or haven't considered this, or we hear that you're looking for a new location. Have a look at northeastern Nevada. Have a look at our area. And I will tell you, and I'll tell anybody in the Elko area this too, anytime we get a lead, I try to start with the smaller communities first. I try to push them out to our smaller communities because it is harder for our smaller communities to be successful. And then if they just absolutely insist they don't want to be there, then we'll start talking about the Elko area. But I'm a small town kid. I have a soft spot for small towns, so that's where we're trying to push those leads. So this gives you an example, and then just so you can see the difference here, I'm going to pop up an actual example of what we would send. So essentially what it is that document you have in your hand, but we do a cover letter and we try to make it very specific to what their needs are. And then towards the end, then we will give specific information about the community. So here we have this what we've called the California Trail Industrial Park, and the information associated with that. And of course this will change as we move along. But I personally think we've got a great design. We are always, especially on the state level, are commended for our responses. They always say you guys have the most polished responses that we get. So that's good. I said, well, we have to stack the deck whatever way we can. And if a pretty response is what gets us in the door for a conversation, then we're happy. And of course, here you see the Lander County logo and the information. So, a lot of the information's very generic, but then we try to get specific on what we're doing there. So, let's see, back to this guy. Oh, shoot. That's through here. Okay, so you can see what we've done specifically for Lander County, but like I say, this does not count when we're calling people, when we're talking to these contacts, when I'm going to, oftentimes we go to trade shows. 2 weeks ago, I was in Las Vegas for the Retail, Logistics, and Supply Chain Show, and we were saying, hey, you need to come look at this area. This is, we're right in the middle of the Intermountain West, and having those conversations and following up with them. So there's a lot of effort to just try to get to be a part of the conversation. Now, one of Lander's biggest opportunities, I think, is rail access. There's no place in northeastern Nevada right now that has access to the rail available. So just to make you guys aware, this gives you an idea how many companies are specifically asking for rail over the years. And so it doesn't sound like a lot. 5 here, 6 there. It doesn't really sound like a lot until you start to look at how much money they're offering to bring to the table. So here, and I know, I'm sorry you can't see that, especially for you folks that are over 40, but what you can do is look at those numbers that are there at the bottom. So this is every company requesting rail access. On average, they're talking about a $500 million project almost, and bringing 345 jobs to that area. Total proposed over $8 billion that these companies are proposing to bring to the table. And there's several of those that are undisclosed. We don't know what the investment was going to be. So if you don't have rail access, these are no longer an option. Would we have captured one of these if we did have rail access? Maybe. But I know you're not going to if you don't. So something to think about there. So I think that's where Lander really has some opportunity. Now, really quick project. So I always try to have at least one project going on in each one of our communities at least. Now, I will say we got some calls a couple weeks ago, and we had one company out of Arkansas that we courted for 1.5 years, 2 years. They called me and said, we've chosen northern Utah. I had another company, they were a plastic bottle manufacturer that reached out to me too, or I reached out to them. I said, hey, what's going on, guys? We're looking forward to having you in the area. I actually have a building for you now. And they said, well, sorry, we're in we chose Caldwell, Idaho. So I'm telling you, in my job, you got to have a stiff upper lip because you get kicked in the gut more often than not. So, and it stinks because I don't like to lose. I really prefer, like the rest of us do, we really prefer success, but that is just the reality of it, and it takes a lot of time. But right now, so just so you know, talk to Union Pacific actually about the parcel there behind Hunt's gas station. Used to be the Conoco. We were inquired about it for a local business, but they said, hey, Sheldon, we've been wanting to talk to you. We actually have a rail user that we're looking at going in there. You guys might know more about that than I do at this point, but the folks at UP were supposed to call me next week to give me an idea what that was about, and Paul mentioned that they might need our assistance in moving some of that forward. And then the other thing, of course, is the hydrogen manufacturing plant. So I talked to those guys recently. They are planning on being at the commission meeting in Austin in 2 weeks. They're going to bring their engineers, and one thing that they told me, and I kind of wanted to wait for them to mention this, but you guys asked for an update, so I'm going to, is they actually want to amp up the production of that, and they went from talking about a $400 million project to roughly $2 billion. So we're talking a lot more production there. So they're going to come, they're going to bring their engineers. They have their draft environmental assessment complete. They're hoping that it will be finalized by the time we get to that meeting in 2 weeks, and be able, so you guys can have a look at it and see what's going on. But what I like is they're bringing their engineers to talk about the details of the facility, what it's going to look like, if there are any dangers to take into consideration and all of those kind of things. But They are moving forward gangbusters, and right now, like I say, I cannot see any red flags to tell me that this is fake, this is pie in the sky stuff. So we've got to, just follow along, and hopefully it comes to fruition. But those are the two big ones at the moment, and really it's just one at the moment. But if this one comes to fruition, it will be the largest project that has been done in northeastern Nevada for, since the mines, essentially. So we're really hoping that will, I hope it'll come to fruition. Oh, that's another thing I did recommend to them. I said it probably is not a bad idea to have a public meeting. So do something at Civic Center, allow the public to come and ask questions and put mind at ease, and for them to understand what Lander County is looking for, what they don't want, so on and so forth. One thing we are very clear with these businesses, I work for the communities and I work for the counties. If they don't want you, then I'm not going to help you. So it is what it is. So I always rely heavily on our communities to let me know, do you want this? Do you not want this? If there are issues, then get it out in the open so we can, determine whether or not this is something we want to do. So any specific questions? That's kind of what I had for you this morning.
Out of your number on 7 for your last posting, how many of them are power companies?
None.
None? Okay.
Yeah, usually I don't include any kind of solar or power in that number.
Is the hydrogen one of the 7
No.
listed? No?
No, because they actually came in as a lead last year.
Okay.
So they're on the previous year.
Okay.
What those were, just an FYI, there was some HVAC manufacturing, so they made parts for HVAC systems. Food, there's some food related stuff where they want to do cold storage buildings. They're usually, they're looking for existing ones. I think the cold storage space could be an opportunity here just because of our location. They're expensive though, very expensive, the cold storage stuff. And what was some of the others? They're kind of all over the board. Logistics and distribution, so kind of more of a warehousing type center. And I think one of them was actually a packaging manufacturer. So they make molds for packaging for food and stuff like that. So, I mean, they're just all over the place. But, like I said, my goal is really to diversify the economy here. So, in my view, I appreciate mining and I appreciate all it does for the region, but it happens organically. They don't really need us. So we really try to focus on those other events. So one of the things too, I'm going to try to before the end of the year, is hit some aerospace and defense leads as well, because I think those would do well in this area too. So there is going to be a show in Vegas. I think it's in October. And that's another thing, is if you guys want to go to any of that stuff and you're interested in tagging along, let me know, because I think having our communities on hand is good, because then they can talk to the people on board. And another thing to keep in mind is we do have an event coming up in September we're calling On Target Nevada. We're actually bringing some site selectors in and some prospective companies. The event will be held in Elko, but you guys, obviously everybody will be invited to that as well. And so we're hoping that'll be a good opportunity to expose us to the world, and for you guys to be able to talk to some of these people, and because it's all about relationships at the end of the day. Yep.
And one more thing.
Sure.
Do we get much for questioning or that from, you say like logistics and that, where we have such a well-maintained airport, for distribution centers or so on and so forth? Are we getting many, or is it something that, I mean, do you have much to where you get to promote that piece of this Lander of Battle Mountain?
Sure, yeah. So I will say, in the early years of my tenure, 18, 19, up to 20, it seemed like we had a lot of requests in regards to aviation. And here was the struggle and I've always promoted this airport because I think it has a tremendous amount of potential. I mean, it's it really is one of the better airports in the whole region, quite frankly, as far as surface and everything, now that so much is new. They always want access to the apron. They want inside the fence is what it boils down to. So what I would say is if we really want to promote that, we might need to try to figure out how can we do that? How can we set aside property, work with the FAA, say here we got 10 acres inside the fence, access directly, you don't have to go through a gate, except when you go to work. And I will tell you, Elko is leading the pack on that because they have, 20, 30 acres out there right inside the fence. But if we want to be a part of that conversation, that's what we're going to have to do.
Okay.
Now and we do have some ammo, I guess, in the mag because oh gosh, I just lost my train of thought. Oh shoot, what was I gonna say? Anyways, I'm sorry, but it'll come back to me. Well, I said ammo and mag, and I got excited. So, anyways, I do think I would love to see more at this airport. I think I know the incentives, state incentives. So there are specific aviation incentives for these companies, and they're really good. And so that is definitely something we can leverage in marketing. So I wouldn't even mind. I think, as a matter of fact, I was just last week looking for some different aviation shows, and there are companies that just make, the kitchenware in the galley of the airplane. That's all they do. I mean, it doesn't matter. They don't have to be on an airport for that, but it still is associated with aviation, and I think as a result qualifies for that stuff. And actually, now that I think about that, of these 18 I called just recently, one of them is an aircraft painter, and one of them was something to do with aircraft mechanics. But one thing I mentioned, I included Lander in there, is I said, hey, we're right in between all these, we are in the middle of all these international airports. So why not paint your planes here? It's away from everything, it's away from the city, and so I'm still waiting to, maybe hear a response on that. But we're trying to cover the bases all over the place, so.
Any other questions? Well, Sheldon, thank you very much for an informative presentation.
Well, I hope I didn't bore you, thank you.
So, I do have one thing.
Sure.
Were you able to plan it on sticking around for the discussion coming up on the agenda?
Is the Lita one?
Yeah,
Yeah, I can.
or can we move it up to
Yeah, we'll move
while
it.
he's here?
No, I appreciate that.
Okay, perfect. All right,
Thank
we'll
you.
take a,
That was informative.
okay. Any other questions?
I would just like to let the commission know, these are the updates I think that Sheldon used to give to Lita that now is coming before this commission, so just.
I was gonna say, I really like that.
That's correct.
Yep. All right, we'll take a 10-minute break.
Muted. This conference is no longer being recorded. Unmuted. This conference will now be recorded.
Are we good to go? Okay, we're gonna jump to item 10, for discussion and possible action to approve, disapprove ordinance number 2023-01, an ordinance for the dissolution of the Lander County Economic Development Authority, which is known as LEDA, and its board members, and repealing Lander County Code LCC 2.07, together with the time and place for hearing on the dissolution and providing for other matters probably related thereto. Okay, so this is on there because we had discussion about doing away with the leader board, and this is going through the formal process of that. So, is there any questions on the issue?
I have some discussion on it,
Okay,
maybe some questions.
Yeah.
So, off of this, and following Sheldon's presentation, I worry, I see the concerns. I had a discussion with Bert, and I had wanted to make the time to sit down and meet with him a little more in depth, which was a failure on my part. But my concern with this is if we had issues with the committee, I think I would like to review, what the guidelines are for that group, how they report out, so on and so forth. Because I still believe that taking this away takes away the local piece of the step that can feed the information to him, take some calls. The misuse of our employees, I think we could put that into the guidelines with some direction. I mean, the cost is a budget piece, but we've had some people step forth that would like to take a try with it, some new board members. The acting chair resigned. We've got a chair with lots of ties to come in, and I definitely believe in the statement of it. I talked to Bert about the taxation meeting that he had to meet in, I believe it was April, right, Bert?
Yes.
So, you know, in some of their statements with seeking out business, I'm concerned with removing that one piece without putting, I know over the years, and he explained that to me, some of the struggles. I just think if we could strengthen the guidelines to that takes off the additional work for the planning and so on and so forth, and allows it keeps a community group to try to pursue and seek out some of these growths and developments and business opportunities. And if we set the guideline I mean, I see it as an assistance, and Sheldon, you can come up on my piece, because my questions is there opportunity to set guidelines to take the LEDA board to look and seek some of these community opportunities and business, you know, maybe business opportunities and employment to assist you. I could see it was, after talking with Bert, I had a way better understanding of it. But I don't like that. I like the pre-planning piece too. I like the planning piece, which would be yourself and the planning and zoning, you know, group of our, but you got a whole area to cover, and Colt has a whole business to run to. Bert has a ton on his plate. I don't want to miss the opportunity to, you know, this is my opinion, to take that pre-planning piece, because that's what I see it as, and that's where I put it when Bert explained it to me. That's a piece that got out of control. I can see that. I fully understand that. But to take that pre-planning piece and the people to go out and seek some other opportunities that might not go to your level, for maybe even some of the smaller business opportunities and things like that. So that's my concern is with totally dissolving this opportunity. And we might not get enough on a board to even do it. I mean, there's that too. You know, the engagement is tough in all of these. Every board we have has openings, and you know, it's the same group trying to do 4 or 5 things that have the belief to step up and do it. But I mean, it's just, I don't believe I'll be part of dissolving that without trying to not put a Band-Aid on it, but to put the guidelines down, more directive, and saying this is what you guys do, educating the board to that, rather than just saying, hey, it's become, you know, it's troublesome.
I have a comment before you address that, Sheldon, and that's I think my fellow commissioner and myself were the two that actually voted against disbanding LEDA. But one of the things is, you know, it's hard for them to go out and do the economic proposals and things that you do. But one of the key things was also promoting our local businesses and supporting them so that we don't lose them. And I know even in our budget this year, when they asked for some money to help with the businesses and maybe do a 50-50 for them to improve and such, we allowed that. So I think that's a very key point, even if we can't bring something new, although they certainly were trying. And for a long time, we had a website and such way before we had it in an RDA. So, I mean, they had a good background, and we did keep trying. So we still believe in something local. So your comments.
I have a comment before.
Sure.
It's just that we've heard the issue a few times
Yep.
now. And we've moved towards the dissolution of the board. Some of the facts of it is that I think there's only 2 counties in the state that actually have LEDA boards. Is that correct? Am I correct in saying that? I feel that by doing it, it's streamlining the process more so. There's one less organization or board that you have to go through. After your presentation, which I really thoroughly enjoyed, I think with NNRDA and our planning department, it's just a more streamlined process. And I think if we're gonna snag people, I mean, just being from the business world, we have to be efficient. We have to be Johnny on the spot. Because if we're not, the next county that is, that's where they're gonna go. So that's my 2 cents. And so you can have the floor.
Sure. So, I mean, at the end of the, Sheldon Mudd for the record, at the end of the day, we're neutral in what happens here. But I will say, historically, Commissioner Sparks, you are correct. So, prior to 2012, communities and counties had their own LEDA boards or economic development authorities. And when the state went to a regional model, they saw the benefit to pool resources and in order to have a bigger impact and more competitive edge. Because the fact is Lander County can only put so much money towards economic development, but let's say Las Vegas, at the Las Vegas Global Economic Alliance, I mean, they have staff, they have people, and you just can't compete with that. So the idea was regionalize in order to pool that stuff so we can do exactly what I mentioned. So we can go out and broadcast our communities. And so now you have LEDA, you've got the Humboldt Development Authority, and actually Lincoln County has their own, but they are considered a regional development authority, primarily I think because of their size and so forth. But LEDA and Humboldt Development Authority are really vestiges of how we used to do it, but these communities wanted to maintain that. And I do see the benefit there. Like we'll work with it either way. I do see the benefit to having that local presence, but I think they have to be very well defined on what they do and the specifics. And so, for example, like Elko has a redevelopment district, or they call it an RDA, redevelopment something anyways. So they have that's working in their downtown, doing the storefront projects, and it's local to that. We don't get involved in that. So, you know, as mentioned, LEDA probably could take a role in that. That would be outside of our space because that is specific to a community and it's very targeted. But I think that especially what you said, Commissioner, is that if LEDA was to stick around, my recommendation is it's going to have to be very specific that here is what these roles are. And I know over the past few years, we've had those conversations when Commissioner Mills was on the board. He said, where does your line, where does your line end and theirs begin, and vice versa? And I tried to define that as best as I could from my perspective. But at the end of the day, it's up to LEDA themselves. It's up to you guys to determine exactly what that is. NNRDA can work with them or without them, either way. I will say in the past that they have joined us. Their members, I remember Sarah and Paula both joined us down for the World Mining Expo in Vegas, and they sit right next to me promoting Lander County to some businesses while we were there. So they've been involved with what we've done for sure. So I don't know if that really helps, and I don't know if it really answers any questions, but I know from my perspective is their role would, if they're going to stick around, their role is going to have to be clearly defined, clear objectives, and it's going to have to really stick to what is local. And yeah.
Could you, can we enter into this discussion? Would you be willing to be able to help us define, with Bert, and define that line? Because it's a frustration, right? I mean, it's been a frustration, and that's evident. And Colt, I'm asking you as well. What's your? I mean, because if it all has to come to you, there's a lot of addition for you to do that. And if it's storefront, I mean, and there's grants out there, and that's what we want them to go after, and then then it's turn it over to the planning. I mean, I like that pre-planning phase, and that's where I can label them at from industry and job history of a it's just a pre-planning group.
Yeah, let me, if I could respond to that, Sheldon Mudd, for the record. So as I look at the current ordinances, it looks as though LEDA is specifically an advisory group. That is what their role is. And if they're going to do things associated with storefronts, you're gonna have to alter that definition in the ordinance anyway.
Well, we'd have to
So-
alter that correctly, Brian, I'm
Right.
asking you, we'd have to, if we're gonna put some definition to it, we're gonna have to look at revising that piece of,
Well, bottom line is they're an advisory board and
Okay.
they acted outside of that
okay,
that line.
Okay.
It's just, again, I mean, it's just, not to interject or interrupt, it's just, I see it's adding complexity to something that could be very simple. And it's just, I don't know why, like, we're so hung up on having it, because we're still going to be able to get what we need in an RDA in our planning department, and it makes it more simple, more streamlined. I'm just having a hard time seeing why we have to have them there, and obviously, I mean, I hate to keep bringing it up, but there's only two other counties that actually have leaderboards, and I'm not saying that we do what every other county does, because we've always kind of stuck to what Lander County thinks is right, and kind of have our own way of doing things, but it's just, yeah, I just see it as adding a complexity that we're not needing. Big government, bigger government, it's just, the bigger government gets, the more inefficient, the sloppier, the more room you have for problems, it doesn't make sense to me. So.
Can I comment real quick? And I think that this is what's kind of most important to me, is when we did it, Colt did the SWOT analysis on this, and he can go further in depth on that, of what the benefits and, you know, the strengths, the weaknesses, opportunities, and some other things that he's gonna probably go into as we get further into this. But Brian touched on the very key of the whole thing, is we have an advisory board controlling county monies and projects and employees and giving direction to employees that then have no accountability to the voter. They have no accountability to anybody else, because they're only advisory, but they're still giving direction. And then if myself or if Colt or if somebody else that is an employee that can be held accountable does take action off of what they've been directed by an advisory board, the voters can't hold them accountable. The only people that get held accountable are those of us who are standing up saying, hey, we can't do that because you guys don't have the authority to tell us to do that. Well, then they get really upset because we said, sorry, you guys don't have the authority. And they go, well, you guys the commission gave us the authority because they gave us the budget. And so it creates a very, very strong conflict. And when I looked at everything, and me and Colt met, and Shelby and Commissioner Ancho, my one question was, what are we not doing? If it comes back to the county, what are we not doing? And that was the one thing that nobody could answer. It just streamlines it, because these businesses, if they come to town, they have to go to the building department to get permits. They have to come. So why not knock on that door first? And they can get, like to Brian's comment, they get their answers immediately. They go, oh, this is worth pursuing and following up. LEDA meets once a month. Oftentimes they didn't even have a quorum. So you aren't getting answers right away. It's prolonging the process, which I feel like Sheldon's being hired there. He actually works at your guys' discretion. You guys tell Sheldon, hey, we just won't renew with you guys if you aren't doing something for us. So there's some leverage that this board has at that point to actually bring some options to the table. And then you can also hold myself and Colt and other county employees accountable for not doing what we're promised to be doing here, which is storefront improvements and some things that we think can be handled internally, and accountability. Whereas going through the leaderboard, I don't think that it really muddies the water on accountability and who's giving the direction and where it's coming from. The update that Sheldon just gave to this commission, I think, was outstanding. That's the ones that he's giving there, and everybody goes, what does NNRDA do for us? Every commissioner since I've been here has said, well, we never see them. Why are we renewing this? Well, then when you guys get a presentation like this that he gives, every couple months there at the LEDA meeting, you go, well, I can see there's some benefit to this. So them are all things worthy of considering, and I'll let Colt kind of lead into his SWOT analysis, and maybe that will further explain some of this.
Yeah, Colt Nelson for the record, and Mike, I appreciate your concerns, because it's a concern we've had, and we've been talking about it just yesterday. Shelby went back through the business improvement plan, and we looked at it and what it said with LIDA, for example, and how we would look at that differently if our department were working with, not so much with Sheldon on this one, but with the opportunity for small businesses within our county to improve and utilize funds that we've set aside, the $35,000. I've talked with Lakin a little bit about that. What would that look like if we're doing it? So we're working on shoring up all that. And at the same time, we've had one meeting and one more is scheduled right now with Commissioner Kathy Ancho and Bert on direction. So I see exactly what you're talking about. We do need that direction, but at the same time, I think we're in position to really recognize the opportunities, and our strengths are that we are a team together that can be held accountable. Actually, that's why I was mentioning to Shelby, we need to stay on top of this, and she is really looking at it with the whole team from the standpoint of even the SEDS that are in the report. Are we looking at each one of these improvement opportunities, and are we trying to put some effort towards them? And we will be held accountable for that. And that's why we do want to realize the threats are not communicating, not having a structure, exactly what you were just saying. And I think that's what our goal was, if I'm correct here, Bert, with us meeting. I'm trying to get that direction and moving forward and have something to report to the commissioners that we're doing well in the case of bringing opportunity into the county. So what does it look like right now? I wish I could give you a perfect description, but we're looking for that too, but we can develop it. And if we get a chance and we do well, great. If it falls flat, then maybe it's looked at again from a leaderboard. I don't know, but I know that we're poised and working towards having something that will work.
Miranda Tremaine for the record here in Austin. I sat as a treasurer on the LIDA board, and I voted nay for the dissolution of LIDA. My biggest concern is what you guys are going to plan to do for Southern Lander County. You guys published a video for our economic development that solely was just Battle Mountain. There was not Austin in there, and that's a concern for me where our voice isn't heard as a community.
So, who is it?
Miranda Tremaine.
What does she say? Can somebody recap?
She wants to know what our concerns of what, moving forward this way, how it's going to affect Southern Lander County.
Yeah, and Colton Nelson, for the record, we recognize that with one of the threats in the SWOT analysis. The threat was, are we doing enough for Southern Lander County, and what would some of that look like, including the business improvement plan. Shelby and I were just discussing that we actually think that Austin fits that better than Battle Mountain does right now with some of their businesses as far as the county matching funds to improve even some of their storefronts, right? And to really promote that within Austin and make sure they understand it. We were even talking about using some of the funds to, what is the business improvement plan? Does folks even know what it is? And get that out there and say, hey, listen, we match. If you're gonna put some nice storefront, I'm gonna make something up, lamp posts in, and you pay $10,000 of the 20 that you put in your, whatever it is, you know, the details of it, that you get a lot out of this, and the county is putting their own funds back into it, and explain that. And we thought Austin actually had quite a bit of potential for that. So we are aware of that Lander, you know, Southern Lander County would be forgotten, but we have to make sure that we're thinking about those things. I've also thought a little bit about who would we have within our team that we could discuss things with, planning a building, and I thought of Sean Baker, and I asked him ahead of time, you know, would you be willing to help us with some of this stuff, and just the synergies of ideas for we don't miss some opportunity here and you know, not be doing the right things for economic development.
So something else I'd like to add is like that business improvement plan, that's something that our staff created and developed and moved, not LIDA. We did that as something trying to promote LIDA and get some more draw to LIDA and get some success and let them get some footing to take off with. And that's been a couple year program that we've been trying to implement. But like I said, when you meet once a month and oftentimes don't even have a quorum, and then it has to come back before this commission, it's one more step in the process that may have taken a matter of a month, but it took us 3 months or 5 months there. Depending on the quorum and how they met. So a lot of these things we're developing in-house anyway and handing them over going, hey, how else can we help? The the other things that, you know, the bench project, beautiful thing that happened within our community, it's wonderful, but there was some cleanup work that had to be done there because of the drop in communication between volunteer boards and what has to be done in the permitting processes and things like that. So I think that it can save us a lot of staffing hours just doing follow-up, knowing that we're in it from the jump. And we see everything from day one to make sure that we get all the proper permitting and we move forward. It smooths out that ride a little bit, but a lot of these programs we've actually implemented. So we're well informed of what they are. It's just a matter of getting that approval.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is like, I mean, I've worked with Lita, I even sat on the Lita board back 2007 to 2010. And it's just, honestly, today, Sheldon was probably the first presentation I heard that all the pieces really clicked for me up here of like what we're doing. And it's just, and I don't know why that is, because I've been doing it for a long time. But again, I think there's too many throughfares, which we don't need. And again, it just simplifies the process. I mean, if it makes me, somebody that's been doing this for so long, and now it just all of a sudden clicked and registered, and I can see a lot clearer, that has to, tell you something. I'm not saying that, I'm just saying that it's an unnecessary step. I'm not saying that they're bad, that their hearts weren't in the right place. It's just an unnecessary step that we don't need. And I think, honestly, if we give it some time, we're going to see that we're a lot more efficient and a lot more effective in what we all want.
You know, I really hear what you're saying, and I understand where you're going and the problems we've had in the past. I guess I still like the idea with the local input. And a perfectly good example is this fabulous video that was put out by NNRDA on Lander County, and not one mention of Austin, not one. That's fine, but it shouldn't have been Lander County. It should have been Battle Mountain in Lander County, because we in the South felt like, wait a minute, hello guys, you still remember us. And I know Sheldon doesn't totally ignore the South. I have met with him personally, with people at the airport in Austin that were looking at things. I mean, he does have us on his radar, but some of these things that we fall through, and so we're looking at the local part to say we're still here and we want to be part of this as an advisory. And yes, we've had a lot of things to do if we decide to go back to an advisory board. So they would have to have what steps they can take and where they might be beneficial.
So I'll just add this, is that Patsy speaks of the importance of Austin, and I agree. And it's like this board sat and discussed about how many these meetings that we have in Austin, and it was I who suggested we should have them there at least quarterly. And we didn't go that route. We went to maybe once or twice a year. But I did it for the simple fact that they are important and they need to be heard. And what better way than to conduct business? Maybe not every item deals with the southern part of the county, but there's still taxpayers that have an opinion and a viewpoint about what goes on with the totality of Lander County. And it's like it would give them more opportunity to speak of things that they want or that they need, rather than just showing up once a year.
You know, and not to get too far off our agenda here, but since you're talking about that, one of the main reasons is we don't do more is because the few businesses that we have are usually working and can't come to the meetings. And I was told by the previous district attorney that when you're in Austin, you can only do things that pertain to Austin. You can't do other agenda items for Battle Mountain. Really, that's exactly what he told me.
I've never
He
heard
said,
that.
and I said, why? We're a county commission. I don't understand. He said, no.
We've always had other agenda items on the Austin agenda.
Right.
He didn't say that it couldn't be. He just said we should probably make sure that all our Austin
No,
items
that's
are
not what
in
he told
Austin.
me. He told
That's
me
what I was told.
that we couldn't do the other, and I said, well, then there's no way that we can continue to do it that often, because not that many people are there to show up. They're in other areas and they're busy, so. And the other thing is, the expense if nobody's gonna come. You know, with all our staff and moving everything. So, I agree. I'm glad we're there once a year, and if they want us more often, they certainly can request it. We'll be happy to take a look at that. All of us would. So, with that, Brian.
Thank you.
Miranda Tremaine for the record. So my biggest concern is, why does our economic development and what's best for our community have to come from somebody there in Battle Mountain, when it should be someone, or even if Austin has to have a board for our community development and what's best for us, to communicate with Lander County, and it's more of an input, not just coming straight from Battle Mountain.
What did she say? Recap?
She's wondering why Austin can't have their own board, why it's all Battle Mountain. But wasn't there somebody on the board that was from the south?
Yeah,
Yeah.
she was.
Yes.
Miranda was.
So it's not all
And,
Battle
and
Mountain.
I think this
but-
kind of goes back to my original point is what isn't being done, right? Like
Right.
Yeah.
what was done previously, or what was planned to be done that isn't currently being done and being done more efficiently. And with the ability of the people that are on staff being able to be held accountable. And I think that's what's most important to me, is to make sure that all of us are held accountable by the people that are our bosses. Whether that's you guys holding me or me holding the building department, vice versa, you know, it trickles down. But it can't come from the bottom up, and that's my concern.
Sheldon, you had something to say?
Well, and I'm kind of going out there now. I just wanted to address Commissioner Waits on that video. So I'll formally apologize to the folks in Austin and Kingston and so forth, but don't think we didn't forget you. As a matter of fact, in our shooting schedule, we had Austin planned. We were going to go to Eureka in the morning and then Austin in the afternoon, but we had a storm come in. And it was so bad that the videographer said, yeah, we're just going to have to do this another time. And then he moved to Austin, Texas. And so if we get him back to town for any other project, I'm going to talk him into getting down there, taking at least a few shots that we can embed in that video and do. But it certainly wasn't because Austin was forgotten. It was just bad circumstances.
No, and I understand that. That wasn't my point. My
Sure.
point was, it was a fabulous video, but you should have said Battle Mountain, because when you said Lander County, and then totally not one mention, we felt like the stepchild.
Sure.
So, I mean, the video's beautiful, but we need to, can you actually voice over and say Battle Mountain?
I'd
Lander County?
rather get shots of Austin than redo the voice, to be honest with you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments?
So with this with this motion, I didn't know Kathy was as active, Commissioner Ancho was active in this. The time frame ain't pressing, I don't feel. I think the motion should be tabled until she's here for that piece, you know, if there's any discussion. I mean, it's tough, I still like the pre-plan, and I still think we could make them beneficial, and we've done it before, so
How do you feel about that, Patsy?
I feel the same way.
I'm fine with that. I mean, the ordinance can wait another time. I mean,
Okay.
there's no hurry on that at all.
All right, Jared?
I think Kathy should be here for that.
All right, well, based on that, we'll just table this item.
And Kathy is the sitting board member on, or was the sitting board member on LEDA.
Yes,
Yeah.
So,
she is.
And also, Colt, off of that, one thing that, when it comes to the next discussion, is the possibility of, monthly updates would be too quick, nothing goes that fast, but maybe some quarterly updates. Because if that's the route that we decide, this is the discussion that needs to happen. I never sat through anything, and I had the same question. Your presentation today made me ask some of the questions of how to tie it all together. Colt, thank you for the input, and I guess your guys as a group effort on these discussions. That's supportive, and in there say, it's gonna be a request to make sure that Austin's included in these discussions, but these discussions exactly in front of this board of what we're looking at, what's going on, here's what we're looking at for storefront improvements, the little things that, that seem to be the question, my questions and concerns is, tying a little stuff together, so.
Mike, one of the things we don't want to overlook, we have a commissioner that sits on NRDA
Okay,
and an alternate.
And when I sat on it, I came back and gave reports. So if we want more from Kathy, we need to ask for that.
Okay.
And that should be continuing, with that information.
Okay.
And so if I mean, we don't need to have Sheldon here every time, although we.
No,
love
I
him.
wasn't saying
Thank
him.
you so much. But I'm saying, you're saying what's going on, and I'm saying, we have a commissioner that should
Okay.
be telling us. So we'll just ask her for a little bit more
Okay.
information.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you for the
Thank you, guys.
discussion.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go back to item 8 for discussion and possible action to approve, disapprove temporary road closures approved by NDOT application and guidelines on State Route Highway 305 between mile marker LA 95-105 and temporary road closures on Weaver and Altenburg Streets by Battle Mountain High School Duck Pond for Friday, September 15th, 2023 to hold convention and tourism's drag races and authorize the chair to sign.
Hi,
Hi.
Chairman, Commissioners, Becky Linville for the record. So this is our 22nd annual World Human Powered Speed Challenge. We have teams that come from all over the world to race their bikes on this specific area of highway. I'm sure you all are familiar with the event. So this is just our yearly permit application. We've already had the sheriff and the NHP sign off on it. We're just asking for your guys' signature. The event takes place from September 9th to the 16th. The races for the teams happen in the morning from 7 to 10 a.m. and then from 5 to 7 p.m. The roads will be closed for 20-minute increments, so closed for 20, open for 20. And then the 15th is the drag races, so kids or anybody from the community can bring a bike and race each other, race the team members that bring bikes that want to race. It's just a fun little thing they do to involve the community. And then we are working on a show and shine at the Civic Center for the third graders, hoping to bring that back as well. So I think that's it on my part, unless you have any questions.
I will make a motion that we approve the temporary road closures that are approved by NDOT application and guidelines on SR Highway 305 between mile markers LA 95 and 105. The temporary road closure on Weaver and Altenburg Streets, which is by the Duck Pond, for Friday, September 15, 2023, and to hold the convention and tourism drag races, and we authorize the chair to sign.
Okay, we have a
I'll second
motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Becky.
Thank you, Becky.
Do you guys want to sign now, or, because I have the originals here.
We'll just give it to our
Okay.
clerk's office over there and we'll sign it after the meeting. Thank you. All right, we'll move to item 9. For discussion of possible action to approve, disapprove the continuation of renewing the 6 TV translator licenses for Austin, which will result in a fine per station if the licenses are renewed.
Blake and Sullivan for the record. Bert and I have been working with Brad. I believe he's out of Washington, D.C. He's been helping us get these renewed. So they did release they undeleted, I guess is how they call it, the licenses. But we will eventually have to pay these fines for each one. And there is also 3 displacement stations that's included in those 6 licenses, and they were they call them displacement stations because they were changed in 2018 to different channels, and when that happens, we have 3 years to provide proof that the change was made. So if we do move forward in renewing these, then there'll also be some legwork on trying to find invoices and stuff from the past where we paid to have those channels switched.
This is such a mess. I cannot believe that we had to go through all this, but one of my basic concerns is the email that says this has to all be in by June 5th.
So we went ahead and had Brad file for the displacement stations because those were the 3 applications that had to be done by June 5th.
Did we get an extension?
No, so he filed the applications with the understanding of whatever happens today at today's meeting, they can be pulled back and we can say, never mind, we're not going to move forward.
Yeah, we can withdraw that application.
By his filing, we can take a breath and decide what we're going to do.
Correct. We wanted it to be before
Because I saw
the
that
board.
and I thought, it's a done deal. I mean, we didn't get it in, what happened, so thank you. Okay. so
And
now-
hopefully Brad is on the line. Brad, are you on?
He's not. He said that if they had questions,
Oh, gotcha.
that he would. I could just text him and he would jump on.
Gotcha.
So if, moving forward, so if we do it, it's gonna cost us $9,000. If we don't, what's it mean? Just no TV in Austin?
Yes, and there is no requirement. So when I asked Brad, I said, is there any law or requirement? He said, actually, quite the contrary. No, there's nothing there that requires any of this. So it would be a courtesy of us to do this. So.
The thing is, we're concerned about the emergency and how we reach people. But on cell phones now, which most everyone has, they have alerts. So they do have ways of being contacted now, that type of thing. Plus, with our electric sign, we can also do alerts that, we would have a TV station give out. So my concern is how many people in Austin really still need this.
Exactly.
And I've only had one speak up and tell me they were hoping we'd get it back, but
I couldn't find anybody when we were originally working on this because we needed to know if the call signs were the correct call signs and all that, and I couldn't find anyone that uses them.
we had a few because they would contact us constantly when it went out. That's how we knew who was on it. But it's been out for so long, they've all made other arrangements except the one that was concerned, which still is and has contacted our office saying, are we gonna get this so I can get my local channel? But I'm sorry, very few people, as important as it is, and $9,000, we're not giving them anything when they can change it any time and go satellite, or something.
Well, and that's why we wanted you guys to decide if you thought the resources is worth, paying the $9,000 plus. That's not including the attorney fees that we'll have to pay to Brad to continue on with the application, and then who is going to, I guess, manage it and renew them from here on out.
Michelle, do you have anybody from Austin that wanted to comment on this agenda item?
No.
Okay, so the ones that did ahead of time said what's going on, but they didn't come in for any input, so.
Robert, is there any benefit to the translator as far as on like a safety aspect, emergency broadcast system that would tie in with the sheriff's department, something that we'd lose if we didn't do it?
Robert Quick for the Sheriff's Office. We are tied in with a federal emergency system that would transmit disasters and so forth across that system. But we also have that same system that would transmit across the cell phone signals, as well as a emergency notification system that the community can sign up for as well. So there are other avenues. Satellite would not pick up those emergencies, local emergencies, where the TV signal, local TVs would transmit those.
Okay.
And the ones that wanted it, that went satellite, don't get the emergency, of course, unless they're on channel 2 or, something like that. But that isn't their concern. Their concern was the everyday, information that they don't have to buy a satellite for. Our concern as the county was the alerts and their safety, not necessarily just to provide the entertainment. So with that, thank you.
Thanks, Robert. All right, any other questions, comments? Is there a motion? So if we don't have a motion, does it continue forward?
Well, we just need direction at that point to either withdraw our application or to move forward with it.
Okay,
That's
what's the board's pleasure?
I'm sorry, as the representative, I don't want to make a motion to delete that service from Austin, and I hope you understand why.
Okay.
So is that is that directing us to move forward with it, or is that?
With the information provided and I guess the non-support, let me get to it. A motion that we don't proceed.
Okay, so we have a motion.
I'll second it.
And we have a second, so I just wanna make sure it's clear, so by shutting the service down, we're not affecting the safety and welfare of Austin. because,
With all the new information and technology now,
I mean, it's kind of old
Yeah,
technology, right?
yeah.
These TV stations, is that correct in saying that, Robert? Sorry.
Miranda Tremaine, for the record, do you think that this could be tabled until the community input at the next meeting?
What did, I didn't, and
She
She
asked
wants-
if it could be tabled to the Austin meeting.
The
We don't
reason we
have
didn't
to.
hold it for Austin is because of the June 5th deadline, and we just wanted to get it on here as quick as we could.
Okay.
So from talking to Brad, it seems like he could pull those
I think that-
applications back anytime. So if you wanted to put it on the Austin
Yeah.
one, we probably could, but
I'm fine with
I
that.
think
I'm
that
fine
would
with
be
that.
only fair, is to have Austin be able to, I mean, is it going
And the
to?
locals can come to the
Yep.
meeting and voice their opinion on it.
I support that, I'll withdraw.
You've got a motion on the floor, just withdraw it.
He did.
So, for the record, I'll, withdraw my motion.
Okay, so the motion's been withdrawn, and then we'll just, go ahead and let's put it on the Austin meeting.
okay.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you. All right, so we'll move to 11, for discussion of possible action to approve, disapprove Lander County to add a dental buyout program at no additional cost to the county for employees to choose from the two plans and pay the difference of the cost for the buyout plan.
So this is just adding a second option for them. The county still pays regardless of what option the employee chooses. This is just giving the employee an option to take one plan or the other.
And the buyout plan, I'm assuming it's a better.
It has coverage on it that the first option
It
does
doesn't,
not
right,
have.
exactly. Okay,
I make a motion to, sorry.
no, you're fine.
I make a motion to approve the Lander County to add a dental buyout program at no additional cost to the county for employees.
I'll second it.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we'll move to item 12. For discussion of possible action to approve, disapprove the contract for services of community health medical director, a contract between Lander County for, on behalf of Lander County and Dr. Robin J. Wilcourt, contractor.
Commission, both this item and the next item are just getting continued service to our community health clinic until we can hire the position that you guys approved in budget for the nurse practitioner.
So this is basically a, just
Prolonging it
hold over till
until
we get a new,
This is a day-to-day operation
Yeah.
contract, yeah.
well, that being said, I will.
I got the statement.
So
So, off of the contract, the second one has the hours. Because at the 120, we approved the 125,000.
Mike,
There's
did you
no-
say off the second one?
So I'm on the first one.
Okay, all right.
So this contract with Dr. Wilcourt has the daily rate, but no, are we going at I feel it should be stated in there that it's like a 40-hour-a-week job to maintain the cost, because, I mean, my question is, who monitors the contract to the hours of service?
So Brandy does, she logs their hours when they're in the clinic. I think that they're right now only serving a couple days a week. The reason that one doctor comes in and puts a few more hours in than the other, but they never exceed only a few hours a week. So that's why we left it to the 120 an hour. And then Brandy is the one that submits the time and documents how much they're in there and what's going on.
So can we put that in there? Not to say you're limited to 10 hours, but up to, I mean, if the average is less than 25. I worry about, this is an open contract, this is your cost for the first service provider for this agenda item. The second one has up to 3 hours a week written in the contract. I feel the need for cost control.
I think they should be the same
They should
contract.
be identical contracts.
I don't see that 3 hour,
you want a maximum
Right there, yeah, it's in
of
number 2,
hours?
it's right there, it's in there. Contractor agrees to schedule 1 day per week, up to 3 hours to perform.
and that's number, where at?
Page 2 of 5. Is that the
All
same?
that.
Let me see here. No, that's the first, yeah, that's on item 12. So, scope of work, number 2, Mike, on page 2 of 5.
I looked right over the top of it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, so they are the same.
Okay.
So number 2, on page 2, number 2, that is the 3 hours for the work at the sheriff's office.
Okay,
That is not the duties at the health nurse. That's
And-
specifically for when they go to the sheriff's
And
office.
is that the same as on the second contract as well?
Yes,
Correct.
Okay, so that 3 hours for the sheriff's department.
yes.
So, Mike, what you're asking is to maybe have like a do not exceed?
yes,
So we pretty much have that with our budget. So we already have a set budget for the doctor currently for the contracted amount of Wilcourt, and that's where this is gonna be paid out of, is Wilcourt's previous contract that's expired, that the funding that was available for that is gonna cover these hours that they're putting in to get us to the nurse practitioner.
but will that take us above the 100, I mean, we've got, we're
No.
going
No,
into
we
July.
wouldn't
No.
exceed that budget.
Exceed the budget.
I mean, are we gonna be
It will
explaining
actually keep us under it.
150,000 for 4 months of service?
Absolutely not.
No.
They have
No.
to be under 1,000 hours for the whole year.
Otherwise, we're bound by the benefits that we have to provide for them if they exceed that hourly, and I think it's $1,049 a year or something.
$1,039.
$1,039 a year. Even if we have a part-time employee, if they put over $1,039 a year, we have to start providing benefits, leave, other things like that as well. So
Okay.
we have to stay under that.
Okay, and this is till we locate the nurse practitioner?
Correct. Till we
Okay.
can implement the July 1 budget.
Okay,
Okay, so, Jared, did you make a motion?
Well, I started to.
Okay.
sorry.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the contract of service of Community Health Medical Director, a contract between Lander County on behalf of Lander County and Dr. Robin J. Wilcourt, contractor.
Okay, so we have a motion, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, motion and second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we'll move to 13. For discussion of possible action to approve, disapprove contract for services of Community Health Medical Director, a contract between Lander County for and on behalf of Lander County and Dr. Victor K. Knudsen, contractor.
I'll motion to approve the contract services for Community Health Medical Director and contract between Lander County
Okay,
on behalf of, with Dr. Victor Knudsen.
Okay, we have a motion, is there a second?
I'll second it.
And a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we move to 14, fiscal officer, for discussion and possible action to approve, disapprove resolution 2023-10 directing apportionment of net proceeds received in the month of June 2023.
Blake and Sullivan for the record, so our net proceeds for this year came in much lower than we were expecting. The school's portion now comes right off the top instead of in the previous years, even though with the new state funding, we'd still get the school amount and then we would have to send it back to the state education fund. But they changed that, so this is the first year that they've taken the school amount right off the top.
Right. What did the school get this year?
I believe it was 3.3 million.
Okay,
I don't think it's in your
so
backup.
then the county will receive the 10.8 million?
We've already received it, yeah. There is supposed to be another small second distribution. We were hoping it was gonna be about 4 million, but it's looking more like 1 million. So it's probably about 6 million less than what we were planning.
Anticipating? All right, is there
Ready
any,
for a motion?
I'm ready for a motion, yes ma'am.
I'll make a motion, we approve resolution number 2023-10 for the Board of Lander County Commissioners, a resolution directing apportionment of net proceeds received in the month of June 2023. Whereas on June 1st, 2023, the Lander County Treasurer received $10,823,472.79 in net proceeds. And whereas it is the desire of the Lander County Board of Commissioners to appropriate the net proceeds as follows. Mandated commission fees, general fund 3%, $324,704.18 to Fund 001-000-31345. Assessor tech fees at 2%, $216,469.46 to Fund 300-000-32223. China Springs, $12,889.32, Fund 001-000-31345. 31340. State medical indigent, $291,120.84. Fund 004000 31340. State indigent, $66,668.89. Fund 004000 31341. Capital acquisition, $133,337.79. 031000 31340. Landfill, $222,229.65. Fund 011000 31340. Hospital, $2,157,205.42. Fund 060000 31340. Total, $3,424,625.55. Our discretionary, the amount of Road and Bridge Fund, $398,847.25. Fund 002000 31340. Buildings and Equipment Fund, $2 million. Zip Fund 029 000 31340. NPM Future Reserve Fund for a rainy day, $3 million. Fund 200 000 31340. Battle Mountain Water Fund, $2 million. Fund 226 000 31340. Total discretionary amounts $7,398,847.25, for a total of $10,823,472.80. Whereas the Lander County Board of Commissioners desires to use discretionary net proceeds to fund Road and Bridge Fund 002, Buildings and Equipment Fund 029, NPM Future Reserve Fund 200, and the Battle Mountain Water Fund 226, be it further resolved that the fiscal officer and the treasurer are directed to distribute the payment for net proceeds according to this schedule, passed and adopted this 8th day of June 2023, authorizing our board chair to sign.
Thank you, Patsy. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
And a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. So we'll move into 15, correspondence, reports, future agenda items. So we need to make sure we put the Austin TV, right?
Yep.
Do we want the LIDA item to go on that meeting?
Yep.
Because that in Austin as well, and Kathy will be back. Okay.
Then if we can put the July meeting,
Yes.
yeah,
what days do we want to, what day do we want to do that?
I think our council here in Liz will have to answer to that, I'm not sure.
Neither one of us will be here for the July 27th meeting, so it's up to you guys if you want to just cancel it or move it, or
We'll
Completely
just agendize that if that's okay, and then we can,
yeah, we can
Discussion.
Have that
agendize it.
discussion,
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, we'll just agendize that.
You know, if, we should have some kind of an idea though, because, I'm sorry, all of us, you know, are filling up meetings and stuff for that, and then to find out that we had to do something, so, I mean, we could set it, but can we get a general idea so we can keep some days open?
I don't know, council would have to answer to if that opens discussion, if that violates open meeting law or not, I do not know.
You're just talking about setting up an agenda right now, and that's already,
Yeah, but if you guys move it or cancel it, it still has to be an agenda item, so I
Right,
was just
exactly.
gonna
No,
put it on the
no,
agenda.
I'm not asking to do that, I understand that, but what I'm saying is if we wait a couple more weeks, our calendars are filling up, and then, since this is so important that we all be there at one days, can you give us some idea of what ones?
That would be on council's, because my calendar's open, I make whatever
No.
work, your guys, but I don't know what their calendars look like
Okay,
to fit your guys'.
is it both?
Well, we
both-
have a meeting on the 13th.
July 13th.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're saying is the 27th.
So I was
is
just
scrap
going to
just
put
have
it on
one
there
meeting
to scratch it.
and just
Oh,
have
okay,
one
so the
meeting in
only
July.
one, I'm sorry, the only one we're
What?
changing is the 27th?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, I
So
thought we
we-
were changing both of them.
yeah,
No.
no, so we can still conduct business in July.
Yeah.
And so then we'll also have the resolution for the deductibles and the insurance savings
Yes,
would be another item.
Do you want that on the Austin meeting,
We could.
the risk
just as well.
management stuff?
sure,
Okay.
yeah.
That's all I have.
Like on the agenda to, and this can be done down there too or up here, but like an update of where we are with, or from where we are with the ambulance discussions.
Yes, that was gonna be on this meeting, but, Jason was out of town and Commissioner Antro as well, so,
Okay.
As soon as we get back here to Battle Mountain, I was gonna have that on the agenda for
Okay.
everybody to discuss.
And, the employee survey. Just where we're at.
Okay, any other agenda items, correspondence, reports? Okay, is there public comment for non-agenda items? Yes, please come to the front.
Hurry up.
Tom Perkowski, my question is probably more directed at Bert than the commissioners, and it's about the public cleanup that's going on as far as putting the dumpsters out in the neighborhoods. They've just become collection places for people to come up and just throw shit on the ground. So I see county employees out there yesterday, cleaned everything up, the dumpster down the end of the road from my house. This morning, there's a water heater, plywood, they're back cleaning it up. Are we getting the best bang for our buck by putting these things out here? Would we be better off to, maybe publicize it more, say, hey, you already got the stuff loaded up in your trailer, your truck, take it to the dump. I mean, I don't know how you put it out any better. That first 2 weeks of June are free at the dump anyways, so, I mean, I don't know, but there's still trash from last year that never did get cleaned up. The stuff blows off into other people's properties, and so I don't know if we're getting the best bang for our buck.
Yes, so I know it's public comment, but I'd just like to comment back so we don't get into discussion. It's community cleanup, so these are free dumpsters. I have stopped, and when I see people there with a load full of things, I stopped, and an elderly man was trying to put something in the other day. I said, hey, you know the landfill is free, so you already have it loaded in, you can just push it out of the bed of your truck out there. You don't have to try to throw it over the edge of these big blue dumpsters. And so there probably is some improvement we could do on letting people know that the landfill's free, but for some odd reason, people prefer to go to these blue dumpsters and throw stuff out as opposed to going to the free landfill. It's much like you see stuff out on BLM ground just thrown out when we have a free dumpster in these gravel pits. So we can try to further advertise it. I get your point, and it's frustrating for the county employees that are out there picking that stuff up as well.
Well, I got a comment, they did do an awesome job.
Yeah.
I mean, in the past, they haven't, but, I mean, that's 2 days in a row that I've seen them. I don't know how many times they're there, but the workload's gotta be, unbelievable, that something that we're taking on, that the shitholes that we have out in the county that need the dumpsters, they're still gonna be shitholes next week. I mean, you got busted down cars, break all the windows out of them, and they're still there. So, I mean, I don't know what we do different to, improve it, but.
We appreciate your honesty, and we will certainly look into
into
how
those
to better advertise that our landfill is free.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Is there any more public comment?
Yes, I was approached by a group of constituents that asked me to go to the tourism board, and I would say that's the proper place, to talk and ask them to see what the option is, if there's opportunity to maybe look forward with attracting the Reno Air Races. They're homeless, they're not doing them in Reno. I don't know if it's, I don't know the story behind it, but I'm gonna go ask them to see if that's something they would like to pursue. The benefit, and they might jump on and help them, but it was a request. I mean, with the airport we have and the lack of housing and stuff like that, the benefit to the community would be huge. And with that, we have support for motel, you know, for the amount of motels. We have Elko and Winnemucca, which isn't really realistically a close drive. So it's just something that, like I said, it was brought up and I said I would do it. I just want to make sure everybody was fine with me taking that route. And that's gonna be the simple ask to ask them if that's something they would be interested in pursuing.
Maybe Shelton can jump on board with you.
Yeah.
Okay, is there any other public comment? Okay, motion?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, motion?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say
Aye.
aye. Aye. Thanks, everybody.
This conference
Robert.
is no longer being reviewed.
You don't have to worry about it.
I need a 5-minute question.